Hey, how are you keeping?
Good. How you doing? And it's where are you in Ireland?
I'm based down in Kerry, near Tralee, the Rose of Tralee.
So you do powerlifting and strongman, right?
Yeah, I do a hybrid of the both.
When did you start getting it? What was the first thing you got into?
First thing I started was the powerlifting. That was back, first competition was 2017, give or take. And it's only in the last year so I've properly dedicated to strongman. I've done a couple of competitions here and there, but I'd never focused in on the training.
Like what kind of strongman? Like the stuff that we see in America, or
Yeah, the exact same, the overhead pressing with the log, the dumbbells, Atlas stones, yokes, the exact same.
you ever do any of that traditional stuff, tossing the logs, over your head? Have you done that?
Oh, no, I've never had to do any of the logs, thankfully. I doubt my technique would be right for it anyway.
So I saw a picture of you. You lifted in 100% raw.
Yeah.
Is how long have they been in Ireland?
Oh, I wouldn't be too sure about that. Like I was saying, I started up with them in 2017. I know there was a second federation, something similar, but I think there was a falling out and a second federation came from that, but I wouldn't be sure how long they were in Ireland.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I lifted in, and I noticed a picture of you lifting in 100% raw. That was cool.
Yeah, no, I was lucky enough to go to the World Championships. I think it was 2019 and 2020 for them over in Virginia and Calgary.
I saw that you do online training.
Yeah, that's more focused the powerlifting, but with COVID, that's kind of restricted people getting to equipment. I also just do it for people's general health, wanting to lose weight. That's kind of, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love powerlifting and strongman, but strength sports aren't suited to everyone. So I do specialize in those, but I leave myself open for as much as I can.
Yeah, it was funny because I'm just studying right now to do my personal training certificate, and like two people I know that are just really phenomenal lifters, Ellen Stein and Pat Susko. I mean, I was talking to them about it, and they were like, no, they tried to do it, and they couldn't deal. They couldn't deal with someone that didn't have the mindset that they were 100% in, and they wanted to lift more and get stronger, and they couldn't deal
Yeah,
with it.
it can be tough that side. I'd always sit down and a good hour chat beforehand because you have lots of people going, not 100% I'm set on doing this. And then you're like, brilliant. Is there anything that could get in the way? And then there's a laundry list of reasons why they mightn't be able to commit. So you can only work with people that want to work for themselves.
In Ireland, right, the accents. So I actually did two podcasts just before you by coincidence with guys from Ireland, and they had like a way less, what would you say, a heavy brogue, right?
Yeah.
You have a much heavier accent. Is that just because from where you're from?
I think so. Originally, I'm from further up in the country where there wouldn't be too much of an accent, but I've been down in Kerry since about 10 years now. And when I'm surrounded by it, I picked up a lot of it. So
Yeah.
I think it's just part of me now.
The other guys from Ireland, they said they've never seen the strict curl in Ireland, but 100% raw. I mean, they have it in the United States. Almost all their meets. I was in Ireland. Did they do it?
I've never seen it at a meet in Ireland. Again, abroad, I've seen it, but I've never. Again, it's just the three big lifts: the squat, the bench, the deadlift. I remember the first time I met one of the teammates from Ireland. She was giving me a lift to a competition. I actually met her over in America, and we were talking about the strict curl. And I just said, I was like, I don't understand it as a lift, where I think like a strict overhead press would be more technically more technically impressive and just a bit more strength involved between like stabilizing and pressing. And she just sounds, I was like, yeah, I have a world record in the strict bicep curl. So I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. So I kind of put my
Yeah.
foot on it there.
It's a different lift than I thought it was when I started doing it. When I started doing it, it was more of a solely bicep movement. And as I've learned from people that are really good at it, it's almost like a little clean in a way, because like the way like you like jerk it up, like with you like flare your elbows out, right, keeping your shoulders down, and then you tuck it under, and then you using everything to like kind of cradle it back up. It's more complicated than I thought it was. And I did a podcast with this guy, Bruce Knox. I published that today, and if you watch him do it, just go to his YouTube page. I think he curls almost 200 pounds, strict curls. I mean, that's up like keeping his butt and his shoulders against the wall. 200 pounds, it's a lot. Because there's different kind of curls too. It's like there's the power curl. People compete in that. That's a different one where you're off the wall and like you're allowed to lean back. That's there's some other federations have that, but not 100% raw.
See, that's the difference between the federations there. What, like one rule or one squat in one federation mightn't fly in another one. So
yeah,
it's just awkward, even just talking among powerlifters. It depends on what federation you're involved in.
Yeah. Well, I've always been involved in organizations that are drug-free. Like the 100% raw. They don't have an untested or a tested. They're just all drug-free. Did you ever have a coach, or you just learned to train online? How'd you learn to train?
A lot of reading. I think my first exposure was Juggernaut training system. So I practically lived on that channel for ages, bought a lot of the online books, read through them. So I did all of my own coaching there for the powerlifting. I couldn't quite grasp how to peak when it came to the strongman side of it though, because the base training can all be the exact same. You pick your movements, you work on them. But you know yourself in the powerlifting, there's the 3 max lifts, the 3 attempts of each. But then, like, I have competition in 8 weeks' time where there's a deadlift ladder followed by atlas stones, followed by yoke walk. It was just so spread out. So I've been in contact with Big Loz from over in England, and he's taking care of the strongman side of it now for me, so I don't have to worry about that.
All right, so can you train strongman and powerlifting at the same time, you think? Like, could you have like 2 competitions in the future and be training for both?
You can. I've tried it. It's very difficult. If you have a competition coming up for powerlifting, you can train strongman alongside that. But just like anything else, you're going to have to tape off and get more specific 2 to 3 compound lifts close to the competition. Then same for the strongman. You can do all the powerlifting lifts, but as you get closer to the competition, well, you're definitely going to have to be practicing your overhead pressing. There's a lot more moving offense, so you have to be practicing your foot speed, the picks, those type of things. I have tried peaking for a powerlifting competition and then going into the strongman competition 6 weeks later and just didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I think there's certainly components from one that fit into the other, as in, say, for the squat, if you can yoke walk 600 pounds on your back, like you're walking and you're unstable as you're going, you can squat that no problem if you're just in one position. So there are components from one side that can be swapped over to the other.
Yeah, the yoke walk, you think that travels over to the squat?
Oh, I think that'll have great carryover. Fairness walks for the deadlifts to pick off the ground. Again, stabilizing through the core when you're moving, working your traps, working your grip at the same time. Like, there's a lot each sport can learn from the other. Strongman, I suppose, will have to focus a lot more on the bench just to up the chest and the tricep strength, because the main focus for strongman again is the overhead press.
Yeah, right. Because while doing focusing on a bench press and then having to focus on overhead pressing, that's a lot on your shoulders, I would think.
It isn't too bad. Again, it always comes down to the program and how it's structured. When I actually had more shoulder pain when I strictly powerlifting than I do in strongman, because with the powerlifting, I low bar squat. So again, I really crank into that position, get my back as tight as I can. And so I'd be squatting twice a week, benching about 3 times a week. Whereas opposed to the strongman with all overhead pressing, it isn't strict, so you can use your leg drive to get the
Yeah.
extra bit into it. And because there usually isn't a barbell squat involved, you can use the SSB. So again, it takes a bit of pressure off the shoulders, having the handles down front. You're able to modify a lot more.
Yeah. Those specialty bars are, I'm finding out to be more useful for longevity and preventing injury. Like the safety bar squat, the what do you call it? What would you call it? A negative bar squat or Cadillac bar squat? You know, when you're squatting like basically with your fist in this direction instead of, you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
the squat, yeah, that'll be the SSB one, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely help prevent a lot of wear and tear. And yeah, I've been told by some really great lifters, they swear to me that, like the safety bar squat or the I don't know what those bars are called. I could call them like
The
just a
camber squat.
neutral grip bar. Yeah, or
Yeah.
yeah, Kabuki makes it called the Cadillac bar. That, if you're to train on them and then to switch over, a month or two before the competition, that it would carry over, and that the and that they really recommend for people that aren't really training for a powerlifting competition to just to stay off just the straight bar,
That,
because it's just so damaging.
that's the thing, like with my clients, say for deadlift, for example, if they don't have to go near a straight bar for a deadlift, I don't put them near it. A trap bar or a hexagonal bar does the exact same thing. There's a higher pick, you still get the same benefits from it, but
Yeah,
without the risk of, say, lower back pain that most people tend to get.
that makes a lot of sense. What do you think about people, powerlifters, using the trap bar? Think it's a good idea to mix it in?
Yeah, to be honest, I see no reason not to. Again, like I was saying, if you're 14, 16 weeks out from competition, doesn't make any difference. You could substitute that instead of a leg press if you didn't have one available. Because I
Yeah,
do think it's a lot more quad dominant than, say, glutes and hamstrings. But again, it's one of those things, especially if you haven't done it before, you're bound to get some stimulus from it. If you're benching the same way, like for 5 years, even just mixing up the bench, you'll get a new stimulus which will help with the performance. But no, I see absolutely no reason why people can't be mixing up different variations.
very recently I seen someone deadlifting with a bar, or not bar, I'm sorry, a belt up high on their rib cage. Have you noticed some guys doing that?
I've seen a few that I think that it's coming from the Australian strength coach. That's the first person I noticed doing it. I've never looked into why.
Well, I've been reading a couple different opinions on it because I'm thinking about doing it. I tried it today a little bit on my warm-ups, and it seemed to help a little bit. I mean, if you're somebody who's got like a horrible like upper rounding, the backgrounds, it does really help, because I mean, that down here the belt's not really, I don't know, it doesn't help my form or anything. It doesn't do much for me. But up here, I mean, it really it seemed to help. Uh, I don't want to switch right now because I'm kind of looking. I'm kind of like towards the end of my cycle right now, and but I think really after this competition, I'm doing one on June 13th. I think after that competition, I really want to try it and see if it works to help prevent like that rounding of the upper back. My wife is 5'2", and her belt is the same size as mine, and it basically is on her. It's on her hip and on her rib cage anyway. So she kind of is doing it
That way,
anyway, just
anyway.
because she's so small. But my wife's got such solid form. Her back is always like rock solid. Yeah, she's like I said, she's a good lifter. On Instagram, her name's JM Naziri, and she's 103 pounds right now. She's pulling like 250. She's a pretty good
Yeah.
lifter, and she's half Irish. She's a Kenny.
There's always going to be a
Oh
connection somewhere.
yeah. Let me ask you this. She says I make too many Irish jokes, and I tell her no. Well, Irish people don't care. They think it's funny, and she's like no, it's not nice. Don't do it. So I think Irish people have thick skin.
Oh yeah, we do. The one thing that gets under the skin a lot is my great grandfather once remove's cousin was Irish, so that makes me out. That's the one thing that gets under the skin.
Yeah, I'm like no, they get pretty thick skin from all those pub fights. They're pretty tough.
With the amount of training we're doing, there's a lot of time for the pub fights anyway.
So have you ever coached anyone who was powerlifting?
Powerlifting, yeah, I have.
Yeah, like a team or just one person here and there?
Just a couple of individuals. Like I was saying before, just access to equipment and, like you were saying, the commitment side of it. I'd be very limited on. I want to make sure someone's committed before they get into it. Yeah, but I had one lad who was pulling sumo, which again I always pull conventional myself. So it was nice that forced me to look into the technique a lot more, find
Yeah.
out because again that's a lot more quad dominant than say the normal conventional stance. So I had to take a step back myself and just reanalyze what I thought I knew because again I always focused in on one stance. But yeah, no, I worked with a couple of different people. The two kind of top level lads that I worked with both came over to the World Championship with me. One of them left with, I think it was second place medal, and the other lad just missed out in fourth place. That was Calgary 2020, I think it was. And then again, I have the people that just like training that way because again, it's something to focus on in the gym. It's a nice little goal to aim for.
Yeah. Well, you guys are. I was just talking to a gym owner in Ireland. Like everything's totally shut down on you guys.
Yeah.
And did they give you any indication on when the gyms are going to open?
No, not properly. We're hoping 4 weeks, but the way things work, they give us an indication going, it might be in 4 weeks, and then in 3 weeks' time, they're like, no, lockdown's going on for another 8 weeks. So, yeah, no, that's quite frustrating.
Was the last person I was talking to? He said that the vaccine rollout is just slow.
Very slow.
Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah, we're kind of caught in a hair place at the moment, and it's getting to the stage where people are just getting tired of being locked down. No, again, personally, I don't mind too much. I do a lot online. I'm in college at the minute, so all that's online. I have my own home gym up the back, so I can still train away. But you can understand the frustration coming in for some people.
Yeah, I could just bet all the pubs operating on the ground.
Yeah,
I know. I live in a little town, Greenwood Lake in New York, and it's all. It's a lot of like first and second generation Irish here, so the mayor, everyone's like, it's all like a wink and a but nobody here is listening to this podcast, so I don't know anyone powerlifting this that close to here, maybe like a couple villages down, but yeah, powerlifting has taken off in this country. I would say in the last couple of years, like maybe since like 2016, 2015. That's I think that it really picked up from then. I think it picked up because we had a lot of CrossFit people that were tired of CrossFit coming over into powerlifting. Have you seen that from your clients?
Not too much. A lot of the clients I had starting off at the powerlifting were first time in the gym. They saw people lift weights, they wanted to try it, and they kind of got hooked themselves. But
Yeah.
I have noticed, like you said, a lot more of the powerlifting seems to be publicizing more. Now I don't know if that's just because I came into sport myself in 2017, and once you're in the door, everywhere you look, you see it. But I do find it being
No,
advertised a lot more over here as well.
it's grown. I mean, I've been doing it since 2001. It definitely took off after CrossFit, and it definitely took off also because of the Raw. Well, so back in 2001, I think the only organization that had Raw was a Raw only organization, Anti-Drug Athletes United. That's what we lifted. And we lifted there because we were on a college team and most of the kids didn't have money for equipment and whatnot. So that's what we wound up there. And that organization was pretty big. Eventually, the person who ran it died. Not his son didn't take it over. He wasn't a powerlifter, and it just kind of faded away. 100% Raw picked it up. So then you'll still see like there's meets in Pennsylvania that'll be like 100% Raw, and they'll say ADAU underneath it. But as far as I know, that guy Al Siegel started Raw powerlifting because, like I said, when 2002 we went to a USAPL meet and we lifted Raw. People looked at us like we were retarded. I don't think I'm not allowed to use that word. I'll take that back. We were crazy. You know, they really did. They thought we were out of our minds. They were like, "You guys, you're gonna hurt yourselves. What are you doing? You can't lift like this." I mean, really. I mean, like, they thought we were nuts. And now it's the norm. You know, 100% Raw became very big. They pushed it a lot. I mean, they were a Raw only organization too, and then all the other organizations saw that people wanted to do it, and then they started offering it as like hey, you can do Raw if you want to at the meet, and now they're doing Raw only meets, and I think really multiply lifting. I think it's going to be a thing of the past in like 20 years. I think it's only people that I don't really know anyone who's a young lifter I'm sure they're out there, but everyone I'm talking to who's a young powerlifter is Raw, and they could not. They really don't think they'd ever go like fully equipped.
There's no real need to at all. I actually had my first experience using knee reps there probably about 3 weeks ago. And again, I had a competition, events got changed. Again, it was just with the lockdown, everything got pushed back. So they thought it'd be fairest way to change some of the events for people. But they add on a lot to your max lifts. Like just by simple, there's a technique to learn how to use them and how to wrap them and all that. But I had 3 hours exposure to them, like once over 3 weeks, and it added a good about 15, 20 kilo, what's that, about 45 pounds onto my max lift straight away.
I tried them once. I probably didn't know what I was doing. I didn't seem to help me, but I had no idea what I was doing. But I know the knee sleeves now are night and day from what knee sleeves used to be. Knee sleeves used to just be 1, 2, 3, you pull them on. Have you seen like the knee sleeves that people use now? They're basically wraps.
It depends. There's one that I train with in the gym, and he spends his warm up is getting the knee sleeves on. He sits down on the ground. I think he pulls plastic bin bag up over his knee, and then he tries to slide them on up over that. And I was saying to him, it's like, if you're not able to pull them down and pull them straight back up in the meet, they mightn't be allowed. Like for myself, it's literally roll it in half, boom, they're on, and off you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of them because we went from you know, all the equipment stuff, we went to Raw, and now I think it's like a little bit sliding back. I'm like,
Yeah,
what,
circle is
why?
starting to go
Like,
around.
it's not. And you know, the guys that really like them, they're always like, oh no, it's to protect my knee, it's to protect. I have never seen a presentation from like someone who knows what they're talking about explaining how these things help protect your knee. If you can lift more weight, then you have more weight bearing down on your knee joint. So how does that protect you?
It's either excuse or placebo effect. It's one or the other. Like, yeah, your joint
Yeah,
feels warmer, and because it's warmer, it might feel like it heals quicker, but it doesn't. Like you said, there's more pressure on the joint. You just get more rebound out of the sleeve.
yeah. My sister-in-law, Haley Jo Kenny, she's like, I think she's like 110 pounds. I think she's probably going to hit 240, 245 this cycle. And so anyway, she's squatting around 215, 220. And she's very slow in the turnaround. You know what I mean? She's at the bottom, just
Yeah.
like look like a pause squat. And she got knee sleeves. She got them too tight, which was we were dragging her around my living room one day trying to get them on her. And she got a little bigger size. And so she sends me and my wife a video of her squat. Bam, in and out of the hole, no problem. And me and my wife look at each other. We're like, "That's not the knee sleeves. It's not the knee. That's just confidence."
Yeah, that's just saying. Like, on the way down, if you think it works, it's going to work for you.
Mm-hmm. I used to I still call it. I call it the Superman effect. You know, you put your cape on, because if you do something, if you wear wrist wraps all the time, if you wear a headband all the time, and then if you go to a competition and they're like, no wrist wraps, no headbands, you're gonna do horribly. You mentally, it just screws you up. You
Yeah,
know, I've been there like that. I did it to myself with music, just always blasting music in my ears, and then I went to a competition and just zero music. It was like you were lifting in like a noise-free room. It just was so different than when I was training. It messed me up.
the big thing that messed me up, actually, I found when I was training, I don't do that anymore, but it was when there was a mirror in front of me, and I'd be squatting, and then I'd be squatting, I'd be looking at my knee, being like, okay, kick that knee out a little bit more. And before I know it, my whole body was out of position because I was watching myself. So I always have to squat facing out now.
Yeah, yeah. No mirrors in front of a squat rack.
No.
No. Um, I always say, like, if you ever talk to anyone who was a competitive lifter from the 60s and 70s, even the really early 80s, if you tell them you have lots of mirrors in your gyms, like, they'll come over and smash them all. They hate it.
I have absolutely none in my shed. I was like, no thanks, you don't need them.
Yeah. The only thing that I just started doing for my son, he's 9 years old, and he's deadlifting, and he's got a hard time keeping his back straight. Not because he doesn't have the strength. He has no idea where it is. And, you know, his back will be rounded, and not because he's not strong. I'll tell him, Mikey, straighten out your back. And then he goes like that, you know, and then he hyperextends. And then he's back and forth and back and forth. And sometimes he hits it, right? And I'm like, right there, Mikey, keep doing it. And then he'll lose it. So I put the laptop in, like, on a chair right in front of him, basically where his head should be. I set up a tripod with my cell phone on the side of him, and I did a zoom live so he could see his back live. Straight as a board, each rep, bang, 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 bang. So I have him doing like sets of 15, like 5 sets of 15 right now, just to dial that in, and then I'll take it away and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. I've never thought about for live feedback like that, because I used to just record my phone. There's different coaching apps you can get just to draw the lines through the body, the
Yeah.
axis and that. But that's actually a fantastic idea, just for the live feedback for them to see themselves.
Yeah, I gotta patent it and charge people for it. Everyone, I've been telling people about it, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's a good idea." And next, if I'm gonna see someone I don't know on Instagram using it, I'm gonna
Just
message
write
them
that
like, "That's
down
mine." With the powerlifting, you went to a meet with someone and actually coached them there, or they went themselves?
Or I go with them whenever I can. I like to go with them anyway.
Do you have fun doing it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, it is. It was stressful as well the first time that I coached and competed on the same day, because
It's almost impossible.
it's an experience. Because there's been competitions where I've been there just coaching, and yeah, I'd be getting the itch, being like, oh, I wish I was out lifting, but you get focusing on someone else. And to be honest, I was more nervous watching them set up, say, for the squats and everything, because when it's you can control it yourself. You're like, oh, if I mess it up, I messed it up. With one of the clients, he racked his bench before he got the command. Something so simple, but it's just down to nerves for it being the first competition. But you're not able to control that there while they're lifting it. You have to be the same for everybody else and just stand back and watch it.
Usually, back when we were in college, our coach would do, I think it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks before the competition, 2 or 4 weeks before, all the lifts were with signals, you know what I mean? Squat, rack, and that pretty much worked it out of most of us. There was always somebody here and there that would beat it,
Yeah,
but
you still get someone nervous that overshoots it.
yeah, I think the longer you're in the sport, like the less likely you are to do that. You're not stressed out, just listening for it. Some of them, like the deadlift, like I don't even think I've ever heard a down signal. I'm so out of it. Like I'm just up. Like,
yeah.
Like
I'm
by the
literally
time
just
I put it
watching
down.
for the arm, because
Yeah.
when I lift audio exclusion, I don't hear anything. So it's the visual cues I'm waiting for.
Yeah. Especially in the bench, I think I could hear it. The bench, the squat a little bit, the deadlift, like I'm not hearing nothing. Nothing.
Too much head pressure from the brace.
This is an easy answer, but I always ask anyone that's coached people, who's easier to coach, men or women?
Men.
Men?
Yeah.
You think so?
100%.
You're the only person that ever said that.
From out of the experience I have, everyone I've coached, it's been men, because I've had a few that are like, oh yeah, but it's not too bad. I read that women heal quicker, so we could do this or we could do that. And no, it could have just been a couple of fussy clients I had. It might be skewed, but I also find my male clients a lot easier to coach.
Yeah.
No, again, you still have to rein them back in while they're going, oh, so can we go for PPE this week? Go on, we go up to night 5. Like, you'd have to rein them back in, but they'd be like, yeah, okay. Whereas a lot of my female clients, they didn't want to take the rest. It's like, okay, sit down, 5-minute rest in between the attempts. Oh no, I feel good after 2.5. It's like, just take the other 2.5. There's
Really?
a lot of oh yeah, I found that quite a lot.
I always hear the opposite. I always hear the men coaches will say that the ego from the boys will get in the way, and
an ego can get in the way, but you just have to check it. And
yeah,
that's the thing coming through the doors. Like, you're literally competing against yourself. If you try and max out this week, or you try and grind out extra 2 reps, in 3 weeks' time when we're actually going for it, you won't hit it and you did yourself over. So it's just knowing how to check the ego.
I do it to myself all the time. I don't check myself.
I used to be terrible for it.
Yeah, and then I don't let my wife check it either, because she'll be like, "Oh, I think that's too much." But like, I know what I'm doing. Boom, she's right all the time.
Yeah, but again, you can never admit that.
No. What's your view on steroids?
Steroids. Oh, jeez, that's a dodgy topic. I don't see why people need them. Don't see why they use them. That's why I compete in drug-free federations. The strongman, this is the first year where there's actually a new drug tested federation to compete in.
Really?
Yeah, it is over here. So I think it's the first competition in 7-8 weeks. Iron's Strongest Man. That's the one I'll be competing in. But I just don't see why people need them. Not even need them, want to use them.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I know they're like, oh, it might make you feel better, make you look bigger, make you lift more weight. But again, that's only going to last for a certain amount of time, and that comes with its own risk effects as well. So
yeah, I think that there's just people that their ego is so big that
they need the extra bit. But
yeah, I would like. I'm not an expert on steroids, but I would almost argue that it's more an addictive drug, not in the sense that if you can't come off it because you're addicted to it, but it's a psychological addiction. That's my opinion. I thought if anyone who's on steroids that's listening, they'd want to strangle me, but that's what I think. I mean, I've talked to people, like I've interviewed Pat Susko, who 1,000-pound squatter. His opinion is they're awesome. He was like, they helped me recover, and I want to do more, and that's his opinion on them.
Yeah, my big thing with them was, if somebody wants to take them and they know all the risks associated with them, that's their choice. But when they decide to use them, but then try and enter a drug-free competition,
yeah,
like if you use them, be up straight, compete against other people using them, stay in your own lane. But it's when you come into one where you know everybody else is drug-free, where other people are being tested, and you're trying to skim under the radar, that's where I think it's where it really kind of kicks in.
Yeah, it becomes a problem too, because if you have someone that maybe starts using at 25 years old and does for 10 years, right, till he's 35, and then keeps training, and then at 38 years old wants to lift in 100% raw.
No,
I don't. You have 10 years of that, training under your belt. It's not. It doesn't just go away. It's not. At least as far as I know, I remember when I was younger, people would say, "Oh, once you stop using it, the muscle goes away." I mean, that's not true as far as I know.
You're able to maintain muscle mass. Yeah, granted, they might lose, I don't know, 20-25%. But like you said, over that 10 years, if they keep 75% of the muscle and strength that they gained, when they go back down into it. I remember the first time I got drug tested, I was in the gym and I got a phone call from the federation. And I was like, oh, and I was going, hi, how are you getting on? And they go, oh, Robert, you've been selected. And I was like, did I win something? Is there a competition coming up? I've been selected for a team for a random drug test. And I was like, okay, where do I need to be? So they literally knocked on the door 10 minutes later. And it was just nice to see that was happening outside competition as well. That there wasn't people trying to cycle off anything, that you can be caught, you can be tested at any time.
Yeah. That's like, if you had asked me, my goal in powerlifting would be to get drug tested. Because my wife gets drug tested all the time because she wins best female. She's always breaking records, and I've never been drug tested. I'm like, yo, what's the deal? We don't want to waste the money on you. We know you're not doing steroids.
I was at 100 competitions, and it was an Australian athlete. I can't remember her name, but I was telling that story about being tested out competition. She's like, that's how you know you're good. I was like, what? She's like, if they feel the need to test your own competition, that's how you know you're doing something right. I'm like, yeah, fantastic. I didn't know.
Oh, I was just talking to my wife. Another thing that's frustrating me, right? Because there's all these new things in powerlifting over the years. When we were started lifting, right, in the early 2000s, there was no one in their 70s or 80s powerlifting. So I was like, you know what? I'm not the best, but you know what? I'm going to keep going until I'm 70 or 80 years old, and then I'm going to set records then. And then all of a sudden now this 70 and 80-year-olds squatting 600 pounds. I'm like, that's not fair. I was
I'd love to have a
I was gonna do
600-pound
that.
squat.
Oh, just look at Ed Coons. He's got to be in his 70s and he's squatting around 600. And his son Mike Coons, he's in his 30s, but Mike Coons is a little guy. He's like I don't know how 3 foot something, but he is amazing. Watching him lift, he's a phenomenal lifter. Yeah, him and his father both compete together. They're great to watch. The two of them, they're both great lifters. The Coons. I feel bad. No, he's not 3 feet something. He's short. He's shorter than my wife. He's 4 foot something. He's got to be 4 foot something. All right. Why do Irish people lift in kilos? Because it drives me crazy.
Don't know. I think it has something to do with England taking us over at some stage.
Didn't they start pounds, England?
I haven't the foggiest. I just know.
I think they started it, and we were like, no, we don't understand that. We're not going to learn it.
Well, if the English started, well, you said the English started the pounds, wasn't it?
I think so.
Well, if they started, the easiest explanation is because they started, Irish said, well, feck that, we're going back to kilo, so that's just the handiest explanation.
Oh my goodness! Everyone in America is starting to lift in kilos, and I remember the first competition I went to when 100% Raw took over the ADAU. We walked into it, and everything was kilos, and I was like, "What is this?" It was so. Could you imagine training for a competition, walking into it, and then everything is in pounds? Yeah. It would just totally rock your world.
I think it's because I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of the American lifters as well, especially in like the strongman. So there's always the conversion at the bottom of the screen. So I'm just so used to seeing it now that I can just look at it. I'm like, oh, okay, I can 272 kilos, 600 pounds. It's just second nature at this stage now.
Well, everything sounds better in pounds, right?
Oh, it does, 100%.
It sounds better in pounds. And the goals, right? Like, let's say you're a new power lifter, right? In America, your goal would be, I want to do 1,000 pound total, right? Like, it's the number. But in kilos, what is it? So 1,000 kilo. So now you're talking 1,200 pounds. So yeah. It's just right. Is it a thing, right? If you're a young powerlifter, do you want to do 1,000 kilos?
Oof, 1,000 kilos is ridiculous weight anyway.
I'm sorry, not 1,000 kilos. No, it's going to be 5. Like, what's the goal? 500 for like a new guy?
For a new guy, I'm not too sure. Like, a good number would be like even start off 450 and go up from there.
Yeah.
So
you would
just quick maths, like a 180 squat, 220 deadlift, that puts you about 400 kilo there, and then if you hit a 100 kilo bench, that's 500 kilo. So that'd be your 1,000 to give or take.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So 500 is like a goal for like,
that's a good number.
Right, a good goal. Oh, this is an argument I have with my wife and other people. Do you do abs? Do you train your core?
Yeah, 100%. I think like the stronger your core is, the more you can brace and stabilize it. Now, when I say abs, like I train like doing the ab wheel planks, side planks, that type of stuff. More recently, I have started doing, your obliques, your Russian twist, that type of thing. But that's purely for the strongman side. That if you're bent over from a sprint back, you're picking up a sandbag, you might be slightly twisted. You're not going to waste time setting up. Like, it might take you 3 seconds by planting the feet, taking the brace. So it's just to be strong in those kind of twists and positions, just in case if you're picking something up off the ground in strongman, to turn and sprint with it, just so you're stable through that motion.
How come strongman competitions don't have like body weight?
They do the larger competitions, like if you watch like Giants Lives, World's Strongest Man, was the competition that was in Bahrain recently. They're literally like the heaviest of the heaviest. But at the minute, I think the categories are sub 85, sub 95, sub 105, and then you're talking 105 plus, which is just heavyweight.
They
So
do. Okay. I was talking
it's
to a big guy. I don't know. He got probably weighed at least 350. He was telling me that no, there's no weight classes.
no, it depends on competition. If you're looking at a locally ran competition, that might just be a free for all. They might be just sign up. But if you start looking at, say, the official strongman games, those type ones, they're all weight categories. Because
Okay.
again, like you're saying, an 80 kilo man trying to lift the same weight as a 140 kilo man, like the 140 has the advantage straight away on any static lifts.
Yeah. Yes. If you're a big guy, I would think picking up those Atlas stones. I mean, have all that weight behind you, rolling back and picking them up is going to be a huge advantage.
Yeah, the Atlas stone's a lot of technique though. To be honest, the weight doesn't come too badly into it. Grip is the absolute worst. You can use tacky to make the bit. Actually, I tore up my arms this morning. Don't know if you're able to see all the bits there. But yeah, no, tacky does make a big difference on the lift. Now, the bigger you are, as in height wise, and your wingspan with the arms, you can wrap around the stone easier. But no, the weight doesn't really make a difference. No, like you're saying, the heavier the person compared to, say, a heavier deadlift, yeah, weight kind of correlates there. So it does be an advantage when you look at like the larger stones, but anything from 80, 90, 100 kilo, what's that, 200 pounds up to about 300 pounds, maybe even 315 up a little bit. I don't see making that much of a difference. It's just more technique based.
Now, see, you said you were competing since what, 2016 or 2015?
17, yeah.
And you were lifting before that?
Before that, I was doing MMA and basically started off rugby, went to MMA, ended up in college, but I had to do practicals every Wednesday, which meant that I was going to be missing the rugby games every Wednesday. So I just started hitting the gym instead. It was a physical course anyway, it was health and leisure. So that's why I got my qualification for personal training. But then when I was just in the gyms, I still had the competitive kind of bit of my brain going, what's other people lifting? Maybe I can lift more. So that's how I found the powerlifting and got into that then.
All right. That's what I'm getting at, right? The competitive part of your brain. How has that helped you get through, tough moments in your life?
I don't know, to be quite honest. The competitive bit, like when it comes to likes of exams and all that, it's great. It's like, oh, I have to be the best, but I had to rein it in, as in compare myself. Say if two of us were doing the exact same exam, for example, I'm like, oh, I have to get more marks than you. At the end of the day, I'm competing against myself, and it took me a while to kind of realize that. And as soon as I realized that, it's like you can literally just do the best that you can. But again, still that competitive bit to be like, okay, do a bit better than I did last time. If I got 80%, get 82%. Like just that always improving on yourself. But it's when people are always comparing to what other people are doing, and I was guilty of it myself. You're in competition with yourself. Like at the end of the day, what a person down the road is doing has absolutely zero impact on me. So why waste time on that?
Yeah. I had to learn. I had to learn that real early in the sport. I mean, when I started lifting, well, a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, well, I was a strong guy, so I started doing this. And, my story was that I wasn't strong at all. I was really still not. And, I wanted to do it anyway. I started, lifting on the it's a club team in college. It's not like an official sport. You know, we had 2 squat racks, one where the guys were squatting on, another one where the girls were squatting on. And well, actually, you know, we had like a lot of guys and only like 3 girls. And I had to squat with the girls because I was squatting like, I think when I first started, I think like 95 pounds was like, that's it. That's what I was squatting. And, but you know, that's where I started, and that's what I had to compete against, you know, and keep, you know, growing from there, you know. Like I wish I could have came in and like a lot of other guys like just naturally were able to do 225, 315. You know, if I would have walked in like that, man, I'd have an over 1,000-pound squat by now. Well, you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, that's why like personal records, PBs, they're just the way to go. It's just to gauge for yourself. Like at the end of the day, if we're at a meet and you pulled 1,000, like I can't force myself to pull anything more. I only have what's in the tank.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I want to talk about the MMA. I've never talked to someone who does MMA. How long did you do that for?
That was only about a year and a half, 2 years. I started off, the brother was a boxing coach, so I tagged along, and then there was kickboxing in there, and then there was, oh, do you want to try out the MMA? And I'd seen it on TV. I said, yeah. So it was just completely different. It was something new in it, something nice to try out.
So, did you compete?
No, never had
No,
an
you never
official.
did.
No, it was just a train, and like saying, as I started getting into it, then headed off to college, and it was advertised that there was a club down below, but when I got there, it was more of a fitness, if you know what I mean, like boxercise, that type of stuff, not
Yeah.
actual combat.
Yeah, I talked to someone that does it near me, and you know, I'm worried to go because I don't want to get an injury from that and then mess up my lifting. But they're like, no, it's not. No one's gonna look to rip your arm off. But
No,
I don't know. I don't trust it.
it depends on what it is, because I'm actually in the same boat at the minute. There's a place very close by that does jiu-jitsu, and I'd love to get back into it. I just think the technique behind it is absolutely fantastic. So if you're doing that with somebody that knows what they're doing, again, it's just put a little bit of pressure on the joint, tap, you're fine. But again, there's always the risk, is like, geez, especially if you're competitive and you're like, oh, I'm going to show this person, and then all of a sudden you're blacked out. But no, as long as you're with someone that knows what you're doing, both of you go in respectful, you know that it's just spare and it's just there to learn, it can be fantastic.
I don't know. The gyms have been closed for how long now?
Ooh, it's kind of like the 1 year anniversary of our first lockdown. I think we're on our 3rd one now, so on and off for a year.
What's the dumbest thing you've seen in a gym?
Trying to think. Saw a lad nearly knock his own teeth out with a barbell because put too much weight on the bar, simple as.
On one side? Yeah.
No, just total. He had, the weight was balanced, just like we were talking earlier on ego lifting, and just I had an eye on him. I was doing my own training. It wasn't a gym I worked at. I was just in there working away, and came down. I went down, picked the bar off him, hopped up. I don't know what happened. Usually get that for 6, 7 reps, and I was like, just go in and check your teeth, will you? Because it came down, he split his lip with it, but he got lucky. No, there hasn't actually been too much stupid things. I've seen people, when they see strongman equipment, get a photo of me doing this, and then like, the usual trying to bicep curl up the log and be like, quickly take the photo. But thankfully there hasn't been anything too ridiculous that springs to mind anyway.
I got lucky recently. Like if I wasn't in my basement and the ceiling's too low, you know what the Duffalo bar is?
Yeah.
Well, on a regular bar, you could leave 2 plates on one side. And on the Duffalo bar, you can't do that. I found out, and
Yeah,
it went boom, boom. Yeah, it went flying up and hit the ceiling, and if it didn't hit the ceiling, it would have came flying over at me. Like no, I was on the other side. I had the collar on, so it was locked on the 2 plates. I took the 2 plates off, and it went up, hit the ceiling, and got jammed like just perfectly in the rack. And if somebody was on the other side, I would have killed them.
Yeah, I've done the same before. I've done stupid shit like do you know, like taking the plates off after you bench them? I forget that I have like a smaller plate on the outside. Nearly broke my toes a couple times. Nearly blacked out this morning doing the log press. Just I had a great position, but when in a good position, the log is crammed up like right up against the throat. Nearly blacked out with that. I've had a few lucky bits. I've loaded an Atlas stone over a yoke, and one of the lads was supposed to be holding the yoke to make sure that it didn't spring back. Came back, caught me. Thankfully, I had a bigger beard at the time, so that cushioned it a bit. I've done plenty of stupid things myself, just not too much stories about other people.
Yeah, but this was back, I think, before I was on the team. It's like in 2000. They had for the deadlift, it was just a pipe. It was like in a J, it was just a homemade thing. Companies like the Rogue and all these companies weren't around back then. I don't even know if there was something like legit to buy back then. And so you'd have to hold it while someone else loaded the plates, and so it slipped out of someone's hand and hit someone else in the face and knocked their tooth out.
Oh, jeez.
And so the coach on the team, he had a picture of his ass. And if you did something like that, you had to walk around with that taped to your shirt all day. And now he'd be fired in half a second.
Yeah, people are a bit softer now.
Yeah. Let's see. Did you ever come close to bombing out of a meet, or did you bomb out of one?
No, thankfully not. No, even my first one, again, first meet, I was very conservative. It was first time using calibrated plates, and especially on a stiff bar as well. I was like, these are glued to the ground. So I was just happy to make my lift. No, I always set a thing that my opening lift for all of them is something you should be able to do for 3-4 reps. That way, always get something on the board and then go from there.
Yeah, that's smart. That's what I hear most people say. Why do you hate CrossFit?
I don't. No, there's certain aspects I don't like. No, maybe it's just the experience I had myself when I was in college. They wanted us to get used to like different classes, different formats for training people. And we went in, and I think it was the word of the day. I can't remember what it was, but it was literally, oh, there's the workout, there's the equipment, work away. No, again, we knew what we were doing, so we were fine. But I just think that aspect of people, say, if you're going in Olympic lifts, like they are technical. So again, I'm assuming that they give a bit more attention to those people. It might be the experience that I had. Again, it was a once-off experience. But I think like CrossFit athletes, they're athletes, like they're monsters.
Yeah, the real ones.
Yeah. The weekend warriors, look, if it has some exercise and if they're safe about it, fantastic. But like you're saying, as long as the safety is there, they know what they're doing within reason, I've no issue. It's when people are being given things that are too advanced for them straight away because that's what it says in the workout, that's where things get dodgy.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of gym owners, and I've talked to 2 in Ireland, tons all over the US, and powerlifting related gyms, not just general gyms. And they love CrossFit because their membership has gone up just shot up since CrossFit, you know? And, you know, I asked them all the time, I said, well, you know, what were you guys not doing that CrossFit was able to do, you know, to just generate all this excitement and to seem, I guess it seems softer, you know? I said, because the powerlifting, back then really didn't do it. They're doing it now. I was at an all girls powerlifting meet. You know, everything was pink and this and that, and like you would have never seen that at least 5 years ago, ever.
No, I think there was like a big image problem. It's kind of the same in strongman at the moment, as in like when you spoke to people like, oh, what does the typical powerlifter look like? Or what's typical, like if you ask someone what's typical strongman, they go immediately to the, oh, they're huge, big fat guys, so strong as hell, but like they're big, obese. And I think the same was with the powerlifting, that, oh, they're mad, they're intense, like they're all screaming and hitting each other. And whereas CrossFit just kind of came in and be like, oh, this for everybody, just jump in, join in. So I think there was a bit of an image issue there for a little while.
Yeah. I think powerlifting will always be a little bit more scary than CrossFit, but I think personally a big reason why especially women didn't come into the sport of powerlifting was because of the girls that were doing powerlifting 10, 15, 20 years ago. A lot of them were on steroids and they didn't want to look like that. And they really thought that they were going to look like that if they started powerlifting, you know. And it took like my wife has been battling it for 20 years, trying to get girls to lift. Oh, I don't want to lift. Why not? Well, I'm just going to look like a man. I get huge right away, second I touch a weight. And she's like, I've been lifting for years. What are you talking about? Like, you think I look like a guy? And you know, but she's been battling, making that fight for 20 years.
No, what I say to women that say that to me is like, oh, look, I don't want to look all manly, I don't want to be huge and muscular. It's like, if that was the case, every lad would be walking around looking huge and muscular.
Yeah.
It isn't the case of like you touch the weight and it happens.
Yeah, a lot of girls, they really think that.
Yeah.
They do. I've heard it a lot. And my wife is just like, yo, like, what are you talking about? Like, look at me. And anyway, you don't know what my wife looks like, but she's a little pretty girl. But she's been powerlifting for 20 years. She's a great lifter. When you train for strongman, right? I guess there's weight classes. I didn't know about that. So would you yourself like diet down before a competition? Do you try and do that, you know, bulk a little bit in training and then cut back a little bit?
I'm actually in about 4 weeks into a cut now. Competition coming up, you have to be under 100 kilo, which is 220 pound, I think. I was about 105 there 3 weeks ago. So I'm 101 now, but I started so far out because I was like, I can drop half a kilo each week, no impact on the strength, happy out. Like, I have an extra bit of body fat to lose, there's no panic there. Like, but usually I always try and stay in, give or take 3-4 kilo of my competing weight, because last thing I want to do 6 weeks, 4 weeks out is a huge cut and then lose half my energy, half my strength with that. So yeah, I don't like dieting down. Usually I stay in around my weight class, but I was competing sub 105, and this competition is a little bit unusual that it's a sub 100 category. So I just had to knock off a few kilo.
What about supplements?
Supplements, currently whey protein, little bit of casein sometimes. It depends on if I had enough throughout the day. And that's literally the extent of creatine as well. Yeah, that would be the extent of it. So it's just fucking, I find just I'm so used to bulking the way I cook a lot of my food. They're pretty high in calories, but I like my protein as high as I can. but try and keep down the fat and the carbs, especially when I'm cutting. So there might be 2-3 shakes in there now throughout the day. It depends on how busy I am as well.
Yeah. I have such a hard time like cutting because I eat so many calories at night because I have a hard time sleeping. So I take medicine to sleep and I wake up and there's just evidence of all the food I ate and I don't even remember eating it, you know? And I'm like, that's not fair. I get like no benefit of like, I'll have like, you know, I'll wake up with a bowl of cereal next to me. I'm like, what did I do?
That's the
It's
regret
like,
from the night before. I'm like, what happened last night?
yeah, like I was out drinking, except just with food. You know what? Strongman workouts. So I know a lot of powerlifters will pre-workout right before their workouts. They'll use pre-workout. What about strongman? Like, are the workouts too long to even bother with it?
It depends on what type of day it is. A non-standard workout, to be honest, mine are maximum 90 minutes. I like to get in, get the work done, get out. And like that's on a day where I maximum will have to take 5 minutes in between sets of that. If you're talking about an event day where, say, if you're doing log, then you have to set up the Atlas stones, then you have to set up a yoke. Just to set up and the moving equipment around can push the day out to 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So again, it's the same as individuals' personal preference if you want to use a pre-workout or not. To be honest, I drink so much coffee that I doubt it has an effect on me if I took it. I think I was today was a bad day. I had about 5 cups. But again, it's the really strong, like espresso shots.
Aren't you guys supposed to be drinking tea?
No, you think about English. Jeez.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I know you can't beat a good cup of tea as well, but not to stay awake, a good cup of coffee would do me.
So where you train, do they have chains or bands available?
Yeah, bands.
Bands? Yeah.
Lots of bands. To be honest, I started using them probably about a year ago myself. I think I wasted a good year of my training life, if you know what I mean. Just testing out different methods to see what works for me. Because, like saying, when I was just strictly doing powerlifting, I just did. It was basically like a juggernaut style. But then I was like, I'll try conjugate for a bit, and I'll try the 5x5 for a bit. But so the bands came in really handy for then. The setup for them, if you don't have the pegs at the bottom, it can just be awkward. And then I didn't like the fact that you don't know exactly what you're lifting.
I just talked to someone that knows how to figure out what it is.
It's that you get this for the luggage.
The fish scale.
And then you pull it up at the top.
I said that to him. I just put that podcast out today, and it's this guy Knox, and he's like, yeah, he's got his client brought in a fish scale for him, and he was like, here you go, now you know how much your bands are at the top. He just and
yeah,
I gotta get one. I just found out about that.
Yeah, I found out there, so I started using it, but just like I was saying, since I'm not in charge of my own program now for the strongman, I haven't had to use any of the bands of that for a while. I'm guessing it's like everything else. It just depends on what the competition is coming up and where your weaknesses lie.
Yeah. Let's see. Like my weakness in the deadlift, it's gotten better and better, is my back position. I mean, when I first started lifting, I mean, it was bad. I mean, I was all hunched over, but now my back is solid, but it looks basically like I'm doing a good morning on like my max squat, but at least my back is straight. It doesn't look horrible. If I was to tell someone I'm doing good mornings, they'd be like, all right, that looks good.
Yeah, my upper back tends to round a little bit, but I start in that position. So even though it is a little bit up, it is a little bit rounded, it doesn't actually change position throughout the movement until at the very top where I pull the shoulder blades back to lock it out.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say that, and a lot of people like chiropractors and that know like that are powerlifters also that they say the same thing. Like, if you're in that same position, with that slight arch is not, because you get the lifting Nazis out there. You put a video on Instagram and everyone's a hater. And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't see any of your deadlifts on Instagram.
But that's going back to, say, the equipped versus the you could put up one video and say, oh, they were using straps. I remember I put up one, I used straps on an axle deadlift, and I was doing it for reps or something like that, so I just said at least that my grip isn't a factor, because with the axle it's about 2-3 inches, so it's further away from the body to start with, and there's absolutely no whip, no flex in it. So I said it was basically the same as kind of doing a mini deficit for myself. It was during one of the first lockdowns, or one of the first comments, oh, what's your lift without the straps? And I was like, I can actually lift more without the straps if I alternate my grip over under. But like you're saying, just one comment and everybody jumps on it then.
Yeah. So I try not to post stuff that I know people are gonna go nuts about, because I'll just go crazy. I feel like getting on a plane and going around the world and beating the shit out of everyone. But that's why I try not to put videos of my deadlift up. I'll put my bench or my squat. Like, people go crazy on my deadlift because I have that arch in the back. And listen, I mean, people are right, but I've been at the point where for so long I started that way. I kept getting stronger that way. I still keep hitting new PRs that way, and I'm like, I'm always like, yeah, I should drop the weight and relearn the deadlift, but I don't know.
The way I see it, if it's not causing any injuries, it's still PBing. You know yourself that you're doing it anyway. It isn't doing any harm at the minute. If it gets a case like there's a complete plateau, you're not moving anywhere, yeah, maybe that's a chance to have a look at it and maybe change it up a little bit. But if it's not doing any damage,
I'm gonna give it a good try. Really keeping my back tight and doing what everyone says I should do. And I don't know. No, I'll give it like 6 months, I think. I'm gonna give it a real try.
Yeah, you need a good space of time where there's no competitions coming up to actually, because the last thing you want to do is be trying to change technique and then, oh, there's competition there in 3 months now.
I tell you, I would normally never change anything right now because I'm going to competition June 13th. I have 2 weeks after this training, taking a week off, and then 8 weeks to the competition. And I talked to this guy, Bruce Knox, with the strict curl the other day, and he was like, let me see how you curl. And he's looking at my curl, and he was like, oh, you're doing that shit all wrong. And I'm like, okay, well, what should I do? Because I'm just here, I'm picking it up, and I'm curling. My elbows are coming in. And he's like, so basically, right, from the side view, my arm is coming like this, right? And I never really noticed, like, the guys that are really good, if you look at the bar, it doesn't move like this. The bar moves real close to their body. And what they do is you bring the elbow out, right? So that brings the bar up. So now you're getting the bar to here for free just by bringing your elbow out. And then you're using your chest, your lats, and everything, and your chest, and you're driving up. And I was like, so I did. I tried it, and man, it not only it worked. My wife was like, "Wow, that looked easier than last week." And he really helped my stuff out a lot.
Yeah, but if it's something like that, that's effective straight away, that you can see the difference, and especially like you're saying, you've got time in between now to practice that.
Yeah, I got to practice doing it fast. That's the thing now. That's what he told me, and I get because I don't want it to be dot. I want it to be one he does it so fast with like, you see him do like speed work with 150 pounds. He's just throwing it around. So it's really wild. I mean, I feel so bad for you because normally like I'll end the podcast on like, you know, what goals do you have? I mean, everything just shut down on you. Your whole world is like.
Yeah, well, I'm just keeping the fingers crossed that the competition's going ahead in, what is it, about 7 weeks now. So for my weight class, that'll be Ireland's strongest man. It would be the highest I can get in the national federation within this weight class anyway. So that's kind of the goal for that bit anyway.
When's the date?
30th of May is when it's supposed to be anyway. So as long as the restrictions, they're slowly starting to ease them. So as long as they're eased up, I'll, fingers crossed, be able to compete.
What's the name of the competition? Is there a name for it?
Ooh, where's my phone? I think it's just Ireland's strongest natural. I'll double check that here now.
No, that's cool because I didn't know they would like that drug tested and weight classes. I really want to watch it because I'm sure it'll be on Facebook or something like that.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. Yeah, no, it's the federation is the Irish Natural Strength Federation, and then it's just the Natural Ireland Strongest Men and Women.
The Irish Natural Strength Organization?
Strength Federation.
All right. Cool. Yeah. No, if it's on, I'm gonna watch on. I'm sure there'll probably be I'm sure the organization will do a Facebook Live. That's usually what everyone does now.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. And it's just nice to be my first competition going in, knowing that everybody else I'm competing against, we're all on the same playing field. Because strongman competitions beforehand, I know I wasn't, but there wasn't any way to know if the person beside me competing wasn't. So that's why I stepped back a bit from the powerlifting while I was competing as well then, because I was like, nah, I want to focus in on strongman. But now that there's a federation that I know we're all on the same level playing field, I'm really looking forward to that.
It's probably going to be in masks, I would think.
I was at one there, probably it's actually about a year ago now, and we didn't have to wear masks when we were competing. We didn't have to wear the mask. When we were standing around warming up, we had to. But it was fantastic the way it was run. It was just equipment was sanitized in between every person. You were allowed to chalk up the equipment, then after it was sanitized, and then go for it, because the last thing you wanted was to be sanitized and then slipping over your hand.
The last, well, I guess it's long enough now. I don't think he'll get locked up or anything, but it was a long, back when everything was locked down. It was a powerlifting meet in Bigler, Pennsylvania. It was a ADAU meet, and Pennsylvania was allowing him to have the competition. It was a 2-day competition. The strict curl was Friday night, and Saturday was the squat, bench, and deadlift. And so a lot of people came out to Pennsylvania from Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Ohio, that around that area. And Friday night, they shut the state down. Went on, on the news, they were like, that's it, tomorrow, everything's shut down, no nothing. He just messaged everybody. He's like, listen, he was like, you don't want to come? I don't, it's fine, don't come. Oh, we did that meet. Nothing but got put up on the internet. Nothing. Yeah. This was a lot. Yeah. So that meet happened, and but there was one I went to a couple of weeks ago in New Jersey, the Femme Fatale meet. I went to go see this girl, Ellen Stein lift. She's a really good lifter, and it went like everyone had masks on, and then as it got like by the end of the meet, no one was wearing masks. It's kind of hard to tell American people what to do.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. No, the last competition I was at, no spectators allowed. One coach was allowed per athlete. But and again, like if you wanted to go, oh, my mother's my coach, they were like, fair enough, she can be your coach,
Yeah.
but nobody else then. So they did limit the numbers. Most of it was outdoors anyway. So I think there's 20 competitors. It was actually run pretty well because there were different levels. So you had like the advanced or the open class, and then you had like the novice class for people as the first, second competition, and then the intermediates. So it's like the novices were finishing out by 1 o'clock. Then the intermediates would be in at 2 until 5, and then the next day it was the open class. So I say there's 40 people there at a time. So they kept it as strict as they could, in fairness to them.
Yeah. Well, I hope you get to go to that meet. I want to see you compete. That'll be really fun. A tested strongman competition with weight classes. I'm really excited to see that. And from what I've been told, I talked to 2 strongmen in America from 2 different states, and they said that doesn't exist. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe that organization's not here.
I know I don't know if the organization is. It could just depend locally on people running the competitions. But I know the official strongman games, I think it is. That's all weight class anyway,
Yeah.
up until the 105 plus. And then that's why we'll be talking about world's strongest man then for anybody above that. But
Well, if you ask somebody, I'm sorry. Yeah, ask somebody at this competition if you go, and yeah, let me know if they do competition to the United States. I want to go to a strongman competition, but like I don't want to go to a competition where I'm competing against guys that weigh 350 pounds. It doesn't make sense.
I've done that. I went to a competition and it was supposed to be a novice only competition, but I was like, look, I've competed 2 other times in strongman. It's been a year. They're like, you're not a novice. I was like, so anyway, again, I think I was weighing about 85, 90 kilo at the time. They're like, there's a 120 plus class we can put you in there. I was like, fuck me in there. I just wanted to compete. So I was like, happy out. I kept up with them mostly for the deadlift. It was a car handle, so the handles were at the sides, was basically like a trap deadlift. But yeah, no, sure. When you just want to compete, you just want to compete.
Yeah. Well, hey, I hope the meet happens, and good luck. And I'll be following you on it. What's your Instagram name, Rob?
Instagram is Robert_Powerlifts.
Okay. Yeah, for everybody that wants to follow you. And yeah, I'll be following you. All right.
Super.
It was great talking to you.
Lovely. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.